Moore,
Here.
O'Kane,
Here.
Shaner. Here. Scott,
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are no proclamations or interviews today, so we'll go right to the consent agenda. Items 2 through 11B is the consent agenda. You can consider these items passing unanimously unless a separate roll call is requested by a council member. If you want to speak on 2 through 11B, please come up as I read that item. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. Remember to always state your name for the record. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
2 is a reading of the September 15th City Council minutes. 3 is a motion accepting the Human Rights Commission annual report. 4 is a resolution amending Chapter 2025-0271 to extend the appointment of Mike Collette as the interim city manager. 5 is a resolution scheduling a hearing on a proposed amendment number 2 to the amended and restated combined Central Sioux City CBD urban renewal plan for property acquisitions in downtown and the purchase of property at 100, 112, and 124 Pierce Street. 6 are actions relating to grants. A is a resolution approving a grant agreement with HUD for the Continuum of Care Planning Project grant funds. B is a resolution scheduling a hearing for Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Act funds from the Iowa Economic Development Authority. C is a resolution approving an air service development agreement with IDOT for marketing efforts at the airport.
I just wanted to ask about that. Mike, I just had one question about this, and I know that we've been working on these different marketing efforts down at the airport. My question is, I know you've used a lot of different avenues to try to do that marketing and different, possibilities and different angles to how to draw in. Do you watch or monitor, do we do paid advertisements and see and monitor the progress, or how many people are signing up or clicking on different things?
We do.
Kind of track that and what that is yielding?
We have a pretty extensive social media campaigns that we do once, if not semi-annually, that we get all that information.
And then you at least are able to analyze what's working, what's not working, and then the airport commission, do they look over that then, or the
Yep.
board?
Our consultant will give them a report when that campaign's over.
Because, I just always wonder, we've talked about whether it's banners on the skywalks or buses or just, it's whether it's billboard advertising or social media or paid advertising or different Facebook campaigns. I think that there's a lot of different avenues. I just want to make sure that we're actually getting good return on that investment. But good, thank you.
D is a resolution approving a transit joint participation agreement with the IDOT for a grant for 1 medium-duty bus. E is a resolution approving a transit joint participation agreement with the IDOT for a grant for 2 STD buses. 7 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving a revised governmental 457 plan and trust optional provision election form to Nationwide Trust Company to allow in-plan Roth conversions. B is a resolution approving an addendum to the restated Mission Square Retirement Government 457 Deferred Compensation Plan. C is a motion authorizing staff to enter into negotiations with CC Properties for a contract for the housing property management services at the airport. I have a question on that. I should have asked it before.
Sure.
Historically, these folks, I have clients who use them quite a bit, so I understand. But they normally pay the bills. How is that going to change the way, are they paying your bills now?
They are. Their
Okay.
NAI is currently doing that through their management.
Okay. D is a motion authorizing staff to enter into negotiations with Wellmark to serve as the new pharmacy benefit manager. E is a resolution approving a post-construction stormwater management plan maintenance agreement and easement with Clo Properties 2 for a detention basin and permanent easement at 4008 Indian Hills Drive. F is a resolution approving a contract to L&L Builders for the MLK Transportation Center heat pump and piping replacement project. G is a resolution approving a contract to Winkler for the terminal roof replacement project, Phase 3 at the airport. H is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with West Plains Engineering for the Central Maintenance Garage Vehicle and CONO2 exhaust project. Any idea when that will bid? Anybody know?
Teresa Fitch, I'm Finance Director. Stan and I have been working on this for quite some time.
I know,
Stan seems to think
meanwhile,
late
there's still
this
problems
fall.
with that building that I would like to make sure it happens sooner than later.
Yep, so this will go out for a design, and then late this fall, hopefully we'll be able to send something out for bid.
You think it'll be this fall yet?
That's what Stan's telling me.
Okay, well, I think it's important you get that done before winter time, when you got to shut those doors and that.
We have done some work out there to ensure that we don't have ongoing issues, but we're still working towards that.
Okay. Thank you. I is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with H.R. Green for the Hamilton Boulevard Mill and Overlay Project Phase 2. J is a resolution approving a contract with KP Construction for 2613 Home Street Emergency Sanitary Sewer Repair Project. K is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to McGill Restoration for the Sergeant Floyd Monument Repair and Restoration. L is a resolution awarding
Can
a
I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
I had a citizen reach out to me, and I said, is there anyone here who's managing that? Oh, Kelly.
The Floyd Monument.
For the Floyd Monument? Okay. Go ahead.
Kelly Bach, Park Superintendent.
The citizen's concern was that in the part of the detail that was going to, how they're going to restore and repair, it was mentioned that it was going to be power washed. And they were concerned that, you know, that would do damage. But my response was, from what I read, when they do historic monuments, it's a soft power wash and not like a full force, you know, like they're removing paint or something like that. Is that correct?
Correct. Difference between power washing and pressure washing is the PSI.
Right.
400 is about max when you do the power wash. And at home, your little power pressure washer at home, you can 1800 PSI. So there's a big difference. Just to
This
remove,
one's under pressure washing, not power washing, or vice versa?
Vice versa.
talk to,
Yeah.
sure that
power-
we're on the same page, but no, we won't want to go over
What-
400 PSI
Right. So is it pressure washing or power washing?
power.
Power, okay.
Plus McGill's been around,
I assured him as that as well.
yeah, I sold them materials back in 1976. They've been around a
I
long
assured him
time.
that it was in
Correct.
good hands, but they did want me to ask about that, so I just wanted to get the facts.
Okay.
L is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Thompson Solutions for the renewable fuels building condenser coils and condenser fan motor replacement project. I need to abstain, conflict of interest. 8 is an action authorizing payments. A is a resolution refunding neighborhood stabilization program funds to the Iowa Economic Development due to forgivable loan requirements. B is a resolution authorizing a payment to KP Construction for the Business Highway 75 and Lincoln Way Storm Sewer Outfall Repair Project. C is a resolution authorizing payments to tennis courts for the Riverside Tennis Courts Pickleball Resurfacing Project. 9 are purchasing a resolution. A is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Dakota Supply Group for fire hydrant. B is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Sunset Law Enforcement for ammunition for the police department. C is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Keisler Police Supply for ammunition for the police department. D is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Titan Machinery for one case XR wheel loader. 10 are applications for alcohol license. 11 are board, commission, and committee minutes. Anyone to be heard on any of those items? Passes 5-0. Recommendations of Planning and Zoning. 12 is a hearing and ordinance rezoning 1302 Douglas Street, 407 13th Street, and 409 13th Street, and rezoning 1218 to 22 Douglas Street. p and Z recommends approval. Petitioner, City of Sioux City. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open. Go ahead. Got anything good to say?
Andrew Gleiser, Planning and Zoning Chair. No. The Parks Board approved of this, so it was pretty easy.
Who is here for the city on this one?
This is Jill and this is.
Yeah,
both.
Jill and Wade, I figured. Hey, guys, this is just one of those where I'm asking the question just out of curiosity and what our ability, and I understand topography is going to play a big part of that. But anytime we're doing some of these infill projects, especially looking at low-income options or different transitional housing models and things like that, look, like, I know it seems like I'm edging this from a disability standpoint, but I'm not. I think there are a range of reasons to make zero-entry homes or one-level living. Like, I think that just makes more sense as people are transitional in whatever capacity. So I just wondered, is there ever a standard that we hold ourselves to of trying to say X percentage should be zero-entry homes? I mean, look, I love row houses. I love some of those different models and what they look like, but I understand sometimes topography makes it so you have to go up, you can't go out, and you're looking at square footage of the lots. Like, I understand all the things that we're up against. I just wanted to at least vocalize on behalf of, I think, a community that is aging. You know, I mean, disability is one of those things where it might not be affecting you today, it might not affect you tomorrow, but 15 years from now, you never know. And so I think we need to do everything we can to reach a wide population.
Sure. Jill Wanderscheid, Neighborhood Services Manager. So the funding that we receive for this project actually does have a requirement that a certain percentage have to be accessible. The percentage, I believe, I'd have to go back and look, but I believe we agreed to 10%. And the 24 units, so I think we ended up with like 4 units, so we were above that. But, you know, obviously half of those units will be on the main floor. And one thing to consider about this type of housing is in order to be eligible for permanent supportive housing, per federal requirements, you have to be experiencing chronically homeless, and then also have some type of disabilities that can be mental or physical. And so probably several of these units will end up accessible just because that's what we'll need to have.
That's
but I think the minimum we did was 10%.
And that's something, I'm glad that they have those restrictions maybe at the federal level. It is something that I think this council, I understand most of us are going to be rolling off, but I would just encourage staff to continue to push for and listen to and think about, even with development agreements, when we're entering into these things. And I think I talked with Heiser Road about it at one point in time, I forget what project we were working on, but just said, that's something I think we need to, as we want to be a community where people age in place, or we're able to find transitional homes, or, you know, different opportunities for people to downsize, whatever it is. I think we need to look at that and start holding private developers accountable just as much as we are saying if we get federal funds or a federal project to be able to do this. I think 10% is a good number because I'm seeing in a lot of apartment complexes people stuck between a rock and a hard place because they'll have one accessible unit that's available, and then they have someone asking for it that doesn't have a disability, but then 3 months later they're in there and they have a disability or someone asking, and you have that uncomfortable conversation about whether they need to move or where you can move them. And I understand they have different things in place to accommodate that and work through that, but it's just if we could have more of a standard put in place, I just would encourage city staff to really think about that and urge the implementation of that on the front end rather than on the back end trying to think through that. And I appreciate your at least thoughtfulness and going above the minimum, or, you know, what that would look like, and especially if we have to accommodate to those populations to be eligible anyway. But, and I guess P&Z as well, you know, you guys are going to have a big part in that too. I won't be here forever, man, but I just wanted to at least, commend you for thinking through some of those different things and seeing how we can try to encourage that in these
Sure.
developments.
We did recommend also that this would be single family or single family attached only, but to not allow any kind of apartment complex. I get Jill.
Different, that item's still to come.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, sorry. So this one is multifamily, yeah. No, you're fine.
But yeah,
Is this the
you
one
bet.
that's row houses, right?
Yep.
That type of
Yep.
thing? But yeah, that's tough when you get into narrow properties and they go up rather than out, but
Okay,
that's all I
anything
had.
else?
Yeah, that's all I had.
Anyone else be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. Is anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No?
Move that.
Second.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Move second and third.
Second.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott. Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
13 is a hearing and ordinance vacating a portion of the alley in the block bounded by Pacific, Dubuque, 8th and vacated 9th Street. The petitioner is the city of Sioux City. P and Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Nothing? Okay. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving statutory rule?
Nope.
Move it.
Scott. Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
I'll move second, third.
Second.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. 14 is a hearing and ordinance vacating Coles Addition Park at 801 and 811 Pacific Street. The petitioner is the city of Sioux City. P and Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. No one to be heard. And the Parks Board doesn't, this is kind of a forgotten park. It always bothered me that we couldn't do more there than what we did. I wish the Parks Board would really look at this. It's a big park. It's a big piece of ground. And if there's any way to retain even some small portion for a slide or something,
We'll look at that, Mayor.
neighborhood, I just think,
We'll look at it.
I hate to give up park ground. I just,
Well, and especially when it's going to, this is the one you were talking about, Andrew, with the single family. I mean, I think you're going to want to have, amenities to support that as well. Jill?
Sure. Jill Wanderscheid, Neighborhood Services Manager. The Parks Board did review this. They recommended approval of the vacation. One of the comments they had is the close proximity to Kelly Park, which is, I believe, 5 or 6 blocks away, that has several amenities. And the slope of the property, it's, there's quite the elevation change, so it's not a flat piece of property by any means.
no, but I've seen more people in that park than I have in Kelly Park over the years. Now, I realize I don't get to either one of them very often, but that's just my history with it. So, but anyway, I hope they would look at a flat piece to do a little carve out at least. So, anyone to be heard? Hearing is closed. Maybe a nice Mid-America pocket park
There you go.
would be there. Why don't you talk to Catherine and tell her the old mayor said it'd be nice if Mid-America put a little pocket park in an underserved neighborhood. And, I know she's given millions to all those workout centers down in Des Moines. Just a little pocket park in Sioux City would be
You
good.
probably have more pull with her than.
Well, I might send her a text after the meeting today.
We can have like the monkey bars look like light poles and stuff, I mean, come on.
Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule? I'll tell her Andrew wanted me to let you know.
Gee, thanks.
No, no one opposed.
I'll move to waive the rules.
Second.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner, Scott,
Aye.
Water.
Aye.
Move second and third.
Second.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
15 is a hearing and ordinance rezoning 801 to 8 and 811 Pacific Street, including adjacent alley and portions of 9th Street. The petitioner is the City of Sioux City, Iowa. p and Z recommends approval subject to single-family and single-family attached housing only. I'll move that.
Second.
Hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. I'll have Kelly get me a bid before I send her the text.
That'd be great.
Okay. I'll include you on the email. Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule? I'll move that.
Second.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
I'll move second, third.
Second.
Scott, Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
16 is a resolution approving the final plat of Perry Hollow addition. The petitioner is Mark Samuelson. p and Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Have to abstain, conflict of interest.
Passes 4-0 to 1. Mr. Moore abstains. 17 is a hearing and resolution determining an area of the city to be blighted economic development area, designating it as an urban renewal project, and adopting amendment number 1 to the amended and restated Donner Park Urban Renewal Plan for the Donner Park Urban Renewal Project area. The petitioner is the City of Sioux City, and the P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed.
You've been busy.
I was gonna say, but you had it easy, man. It
It was a pretty busy one, but they were,
straightforward.
Passes 5-0. Hearing and resolution, 18 is a hearing and resolution determining an area of the city to be blighted economic development area, designating it as an urban renewal project, and adopting amendment number 1 to the amended and restated combined Central Sioux City CBD Urban Renewal Plan for the combined Central Sioux City CBD Urban Renewal Project area. The petitioner is the City of Sioux City, and P&Z recommends approval. I move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 19 is a hearing and resolution adopting an area of the city to be blighted economic development area, designating it as an urban renewal project, and adopting amendment number 2 to the amended and restated Teton Urban Renewal Plan for the Teton Urban Renewal Project area. Petitioner is the City of Sioux City, and P&G recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 20 is a hearing and resolution approving the urban renewal plan for the Crescent Park Urban Renewal Area. The petitioner is the City of Sioux City, and P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 21 is an ordinance amending Chapter 3.14 entitled amended, that passed 5-0. Amended Donner Park Urban Renewal Tax Increment District. I'll move first reading.
Second.
Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
Move that.
Second.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott.
I move, I'll move second and third.
Second.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner, Scott,
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Glad we have all these on in one day. 22 is an ordinance amending Chapter 3.18 entitled Combined Central Sioux City CBD Urban Renewal Tax Increment District. I'll move first reading.
Second.
Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
I'll move that.
Second.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Move second and third.
Second.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
23 is an ordinance amending Chapter 3.20 entitled Teton Urban Renewal Tax Increment District. I'll move first reading.
Second.
Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving statutory rule?
No.
Move it.
Second.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Second and third.
Second.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott.
24 is an ordinance enacting a new chapter to be entitled Crescent Park Urban Renewal Tax Increment District. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. Is anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
I'll move that.
Second.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
I'll move second and third.
Second.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
25 is an ordinance vacating a portion of Madison and 45th Street adjacent to 4510 Van Buren Street. The petitioners Barry Bulkey and Melissa Einhorn. P and Z recommends approval of the vacation of Madison Street but denial of the vacation of 45th Street. First consideration was approved on August 5th, 2025, deferred from September 8th and 15th, 2025. I'll move second reading. And second reading would be that we are doing Madison as well. So I just want to clarify so everybody knows.
Yes, the way it's presented is for both 45th and Madison for adoption.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there an amendment to that?
I just would like to know where staff, if anyone wanted to add further clarification. I know discussion had been had.
Has there been any discussion since we last met?
Chris Madsen, Planning Manager. Gordon and I did go out to the site last week and walked it. It would be difficult to get a street up there. I believe engineering's comments still are in the utilities that could be extended from the east. But we didn't see that a street necessarily could be extended from the east, possibly from the north, from 46th Street. But
Just too much elevation to.
Correct.
Right?
correct.
And with the vacation of 45th, is there a way, if we vacated 45th, then that we could keep a portion of that or an easement or the ability to put utilities through? Because we wouldn't need as much for a road necessarily, or is it just best to keep that if we were to ever extend utilities? What are your thoughts?
Typically, it'd be best to keep it for any future utilities. We could put in the deed Typically, we have language in there for any existing utilities that we would maintain an easement. We could write that as any future utilities.
That would be maybe my preference, you know, if we feel that it's not possible necessarily to utilize that as a roadway access, but we feel it would be essential for the utilities to be able to be utilized through there. I mean, obviously, I want to feel that if that's possible, that there could be a development in that site or that area, and if that's the best way to utilize and get through, that way they would be able to have a little more ground to be able to do and build their development, but we would retain the ability for the utilities to be able to be extended through there.
Typically, it would be a blanket easement over the entire right-of-way that's being sold, so they wouldn't be able to build on it, but they could use that to meet their setbacks.
Yeah,
I don't think they want to build on that part anyway, do they?
correct. They just wanted a closer setback, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
You're saying, Gordon, I thought Gordon sent us an email or memo saying that he was opposed to vacating West 45th Street.
He was opposed
I
for the
read that
future utility extension.
Pardon?
For the future utility extension, he was opposed to
Oh, for the
vacate.
utility. Okay.
How wide's the right-of-way there?
60 feet.
You're saying that you would not, you would vacate but maintain the whole street for utilities?
Future utility easement, correct. That's an option.
I mean, does that sound like a decent compromise to you, Chris? I mean, at least something, that way we maintain our ability to do, you know, utilities to go through there, and it allows the neighbor to be able to develop that property and not infringe upon that, should he. And it sounded like Jamie would be able to work it out with the bulk, with Barry, to at least get through there if there ever was a need to get to the well or anything like that. Or septic, sorry. Yeah.
Typically, we would offer half of the right-of-way to both property owners.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
they
yeah.
don't want to purchase it, Barry did say that he would be open to granting them an easement.
So if you maintain just for utilities, though, that doesn't necessarily help Mr. Reynolds with his ground. I mean, does that limit who can drive on that then? It does, right?
It would be up to Barry on who he would be willing to grant that access easement to, yes.
Or we could somehow make it part of this deal. No.
Looking at Nicole, if you could put an access easement on that as well, or?
Well, but Mayor, it gets to the point, I think, and I forget if you brought it up or who talking about it, about if it's really drivable anyway, you know, as far as farm equipment. It looked like it was getting access to the north, or it'd be easiest there. I don't know if much equipment is getting over that ridge right there on 45th anyway.
Assuming they're gonna have to grade that, is my assumption, but, okay. All right, who wants to be heard?
Yeah, so Brian Reynolds, 4524 Madison Street. And yes, I got thinking about that. I am going to need that 45th Street for the water line to get out to that portion. If at very least I have 4 homes out there, that one in that corner is going to need water, and it's going to need access. Somebody's going to have to drive that way. Now look, this is a perfect solution. I looked at this as if I were them. I walked up there and I looked it all over. And they're going to have a certain amount of money allocated for a bulldozer to level off so much for their home, right? Right. So when they do that, and he shuts the key off of that bulldozer, I'm going to take the money that I was going to spend on 45th Street, and I'm going to go over to him, and I'm going to say, look, I got this amount of money, and I want you to keep this bulldozer going, and I want you to level off all my land, push this dirt, level it all off, and my property, when he's done, is going to be worth double than what they paid for it, and he'll be able to put 3 homes in there. He has to have a bulldozer. He's going to spend the money for that. He wants to spend the money for 45th, take it over here, and take care of what you got and make it look beautiful, and you'll be able to put 3 homes up there. Bulldozer does it all. And they got the money because they're going to have to use it anyway for that piece for their home. And then they were telling us they wanted to buy 45th. So just take that money and keep the bulldozer going and take care of your property. That's over 2 acres. We just give them a whole entire city block on Madison Street in with theirs. And when the dozer gets it going, why, they'll be able to put 3 homes in there easy. They could sell 2 of their lots and make money, or they could do nothing and just flip the whole piece of property and double their money. They don't even got to touch 45th Street. And 45th Street can be used for the city, for myself, for my neighbor, and for them, because it'll be a 60 feet between them and a rental house. They say they got a dream, other people have dreams. And somebody middle class might want to put a home out there, and their kid walks 4 blocks to a brand new school or to St. Michael's. And maybe someday I can be like Alex Waters and say, look, I was part of that deal. But I feel like I'm the one up here representing the city of Sioux City. I see a big use for 45th if we get this developed over here. And there's no trees in it. There's no maintenance by the city. It is just a nice, beautiful piece of grass, and there ain't nothing to take that hump up and off of there. And so there's a lot of other stuff. You know, you're just landlocking people out. And I mean, I sat up here and said everything I could say, but it's up to you people. Nice to meet everybody.
Anyone else be heard?
Hi. Barry Bolke, 4103 Jefferson Street.
Melissa Einhorn, 4103 Jefferson.
So when we started this process, the first thing we did was we went and talked to Planning and Zoning Department. And they informed us that to purchase 45th Street and Madison Street, that we were going to have to buy far more than what we were even adjacent. So we compromised. We worked with the city, said, fine, we'll even buy the chunk of property that extends further south from where we're even adjacent to, so it's not landlocked. When Mr. Friedel came here, he expressed concern that he wouldn't be able to access where his septic tank was going to be. And we made sure to compromise with him. We will put an easement through. Councilwoman Shaner expressed at our last meeting that we need to go talk to the city engineer and say, hey, you guys need to work this stuff out. And we immediately, after we got done talking to you guys, we went out in the hallway to do what we were told, to compromise, to work with him. Unfortunately, when we stepped out there, he was thinking that it was a meeting for just getting utilities up to our house, for our house. And we told him, no, this was so that we can work together to figure out where the elevations are for the utilities and everything else. And unfortunately, he informed us that that the following day, Tuesday, was the only day he had available because he was going on vacation. And like my wife, I've set aside a lot of time to come here from work, and my boss was not going to be happy with me showing up the next day for work and telling him, hey, I got to take off more time. So unfortunately, we were unable to do that. I just wanted to say, we have worked reasonably with these compromises this whole time. And we wanted to make this a decent process.
I credit you for doing that. I really do. And
Thank you.
City engineer did go to Ireland, so.
Yeah, I mean, we went out there to talk to him, and he seemed confused. He told us, you know, well, the facts are the facts. And my degree isn't in civil engineering, but it is in knowing the pitfalls of looking at facts and not realizing that there's subjectivity in analyzing them. So I was a little concerned when I realized that we weren't talking with someone who was willing to sit down with us and go over the data and explain or show us or to take our considerations into his, I saw that that wasn't going to happen. It was pretty disappointing. So we've decided that we need to hire our own engineer, an independent one, who can go and look at the same things, look at the elevations, and tell us where's the best place for utility. Because looking forward, looking in the future, Jefferson and 46, if you're looking at getting a developer in there, that's the future. The future is not trying to dig a 50-foot trench through that narrow area. And you had talked about compromises with us granting an easement, and we had talked to Gordon about that as well. He told us that the easement required was 100 feet, and that road is only 60 feet. And he told us, I'm not trying to be difficult, that's just the way it is. So again, that leaves us in a place where our home that we build, which is a huge investment, is going to be vulnerable to whatever the city decides to do when they do build their sewer. We're putting in geothermal, we're going to have our own utilities, and we have to go on the word that the city will accommodate us. And I'm not willing to take that risk with a brand new property of our foundation, our utilities, and our geothermal. So my husband and I have decided that until we can get a survey done and hire our own engineer, that we're going to withdraw our petition, so that we can bring you facts from someone else who is independent so that you can make a more informed decision.
So you're withdrawing your petition?
We're withdrawing our petition, and we'll
Okay.
be back at a later date.
I'll withdraw my motion.
From my second, I guess.
Who seconded it?
I did. Julie did.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, that's my alarm for the 3-minute warning.
See, we had all of those things on there, and he, had to cut us off.
Oh. I'll move to delete.
Second.
Thanks, guys.
Shaner,
Aye.
Hey, don't leave yet.
You got a message from Catherine.
No,
I'm just
I've got a deal at the end if I can have you stay.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
26 is a hearing resolution approving plans and specs for construction of the utility cleaning project. I'll move that.
Second.
I'm sorry, the public hearing's now open. Anyone be heard? Passes 5-0. Andrew, I'm sorry, there's more to this item than I thought. Go ahead and you're good. Go ahead and go. 27 is a hearing and resolution approving the proposal to sell property commonly known as 301 Kings Highway and authorizing a city deed. The petitioners Ryan Ross and Oscar Sanchez Alvarez. I'll move that.
Second. Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 28 is a resolution approving and accepting a permanent ingress-egress access easement in consideration of mutual benefits from Ryan Ross and Oscar Sanchez Alvarez for unlimited ingress and egress access over and across a portion of 301 Kings Highway for the purposes of maintaining the Kings Highway Bridge. I'll move that.
Second.
Excuse me, passes 5-0. 29 is a resolution approving a development agreement and minimum assessment agreement with BNC for property at 1114 West 27th Street. I'll move that.
Second. And I guess I would just reiterate again, I'm not sure who's here with, as far as the Conley developers, but I just would reiterate to both Nathan or Bart, or any of them, that just thinking about the accessibility of these, or at least how many of these different ones, I believe, yeah, it's in the old school. If it could be made accessible or could be zero entry, I think that'd be a great step. I know that obviously a majority on the first floor would be, but anything to accommodate that, I think it would be helpful.
I have to abstain on that item, conflict of interest.
Did somebody not vote?
We have it now.
Okay. Passes 4-0, one Mr. Moore abstained. 30 is a resolution approving an offer to buy real estate and acceptance non-residential with the Siouxland Initiative for land west of Allison Avenue. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 31 is a resolution amending the resolution number 2022-0429 relating to the hearing on manager's reported demolition and authorizing the city manager to carry out such order to demolish and authorizing a 90-day delay in demolition. The address is 210 Ross Street. Petitioner Siouxland Equity LLC. I'll move that.
Second.
Daryl, this has been sitting around for 3 years.
Darrell Bullock, Inspection Services Manager. Yes, this is one of the houses that it was not causing any unnecessary danger in the neighborhood. It was secured at all times. We just didn't have any issues with it. Multiple times we've had people come forward looking at purchasing the house, and these folks have gotten that purchase completed. The agreements have been submitted to us, as well as all documentation and cashier's check to move forward with making repairs to the home.
Okay, all right.
Hey, Daryl. While you're here, and I guess we can read this, sure. All I was gonna say is, unrelated to this specific property, but while you're here and talking about dilapidated properties or things, we've talked about the turkey plant before down in the stockyards. I do notice now with all of the work going on that it's actually experiencing an increase in vandalism, which is concerning to me. And so sorry, Nicole, can I talk about this now? Is that all right? Or should we just read the vote and move on, or it was just a different item?
The item, maybe.
Council can
We'll just wait.
bring it
Yeah.
up on.
Just
Thank
wait
you.
for me a moment.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, sorry.
Passes 5-0. Okay, citizen concerns. Any citizen want to be heard, please come forward. Nobody wants to be heard. We're going to council concerns then. Alex, or Matthew.
I'll jump in.
You both got a hair on your face. I get confused.
You know, I'm gonna volunteer my time to Alex. Add 3 minutes to his clock.
There we go.
Have 3 minutes? Oh, wow.
Give me your
Julie.
3 minutes.
Yeah, I tell you.
Yeah.
What I'd like to mention today is all of these planning and zoning recommendations that were passed today are for housing. So I just want to make that clear. We're accommodating zoning so that we can put these properties out for RFPs or for sale, or work with them ourselves so that we can infill properties that are not being used, that maybe aren't quite the standard of what they need to be, but we're prepared to do the work, and this is the start. So you'll be seeing some infill happening. I'm pretty excited about it.
Amazing project.
It is.
Lot of additions, lot of new homes and places for people in our community, and I think infill is really important. Good work on that too. Daryl, let's take care of this one first. So I apologize, Nicole and Heidi, thank you for your patience. But no, I driving over that, I was watching the progress of the work being done on the road adjacent to that. And you're seeing an increase in vandalism, and previously I know we've said it's been secure, But gosh, if it's getting worse and worse and we're not able to reach the owner, I mean, what are your thoughts?
I've been supportive of demolition for a long time and redeveloping that whole area along with it because of the land that's there, but it's a considerable investment in tearing that building down.
I agree.
I mean, not that we haven't already spent a lot of taxpayer dollars in keeping it secured. Obviously, those get invoiced out and eventually assessed against the property if they go unpaid. But
And have they been unpaid then? Are we having
a lot
to
of them
assess?
have.
I mean,
A lot of them have gone unpaid. Yes.
Is this one current? Do we know?
Is it current?
Anything that you've assessed it?
Currently, I think there is some on this next coming assessments. Yes, I believe there's 3 or 4 board ups down there.
I see the boards are off.
Fortunately, I mean, they're bringing tools with them.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the type of fasteners you're using, they'll bring in tools and they're cutting it. They're using whatever type of fasteners we use to run them back out. We've done a lot of welding up of areas where we've actually taken metal and welded up over areas that we're able to do that with, all in an effort to keep it secured. They're bringing ladders, I think, actually with them to get up on the 2nd story of the building. We actually removed a access ladder off the side of the building because it was gaining access.
I was going to say, I saw that.
And beyond that, I think they're just actually bringing their own ladders.
You got to get them a job or a contract to work at.
The last guy that did the tagging on the building actually didn't go just weird. I mean, it's artfully done.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
Not that that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
They should go to the Alley Art Festival.
Right.
They don't have to go on the building.
Yeah, channel their inner
folks.
artist because it would be nice. But unfortunately, the type of construction this building was built with, it's going to be extremely expensive to tear down. And right now, in the blight removal funds, there's nowhere near funding to do that.
The owner is in Sioux Falls?
The owner is in Sioux Falls, yes.
Why don't you check and see if there's any green, whatever field.
Greenfield.
Brownfield?
With the APA.
One of those colors, yeah.
It'd be brownfield.
Yeah, I can check into that and see. Well, I know we've used some of those funds before. We did that, I believe, with
I would
Morel
need to
Project.
have a law that when you abandon a building like that, that has the potential for loss of life, because we'll lose a fireman or something if that
Yeah.
thing ever catches, well, we won't because it's built like a bomb shelter, but.
Right.
It's criminal that we allow these things to happen and the city has to come up with the money to do it.
I know we've used, I know that money source we've used before when we tore down the John Morel building. A lot of those funds were used then for that demolition. That was very expensive demolition as well.
Yeah,
It's sad that you don't convert that to something because that building will stand here long after everybody's gone.
Yeah. It's a very stout building. Unfortunately, it's just completely gutted.
Very differently built, because I know a developer who made an appointment with the owner of that building after we discussed this a year ago, and he toured it and just said, I just don't think I can do something with it.
I've gone through it a few times with some different folks as well and making sure it was safe first to go through. And then with it standing open, we have right of entry at that point because it was abandoned. So that was a previous owner that had it at that time. So when this gentleman bought it from Sioux Falls, it was basically an abandoned building then.
And what was his plans? Have you talked?
He wasn't sure if he was going to put lofts, residential units in it, or if he was going to use it strictly for commercial purposes. He wasn't sure how he was going to develop it.
Because my thing is, I'm certain that economic development, we would be able to, people would have an appetite to be able to develop that type of ground if we were able to level it, or if we were able to at least control it or do something with that property. Because I would imagine, especially with the viaduct shifting and the off-ramp going there, I mean, it's going to be an attractive piece of land. I'm just sick and tired of looking at it getting worse and worse when we're doing work in that area that it's intentionally going to develop it.
And it's unfortunate that as far as the land is concerned, it's basically almost the size of the building itself. There's really not a lot of, there's not a lot of extra property there for parking or offloading or anything, because adjacent to it is actually a street roadway to the north side of the building.
No, because Swift owned the whole complex there, so they had plenty of parking.
But now it's been divided up, unfortunately. So.
And is there something between that and our land?
Yes.
Right? Right, yeah.
I think there's actually 2 slivers of ground there.
That's what I was trying to remember as well, but.
Yes.
Either way, I appreciate your efforts and any ideas or thoughts, or if you can look into one of those colorful grants.
Yeah.
and money, that'd be helpful. The other thing I would do while you're up here, though, is commend you and your team or anyone that worked with it on the old Jewish Community Center. I mean, that looked incredible as far as securing that location.
That actually was our building maintenance, city building, that was Stan's efforts.
So
I'll pass that along. If he's not watching, I'll make sure he knows.
No, it looks amazing.
It does.
And I would just really thank you and your team, or whoever did that.
Absolutely.
It looks great, and I'm excited for that future development, but, well, that was probably all of Matthew's 3 minutes, so I'll stop on that. No, I haven't gotten to mine yet.
Oh.
Well, all I wanted to say as far as mine was, that this was one of those weekends, one of those 4 stretch days from about Thursday to Saturday that made me really proud to be a council member. We had a lot of great things happening in this community, and I think that I want to thank a lot of staff members and community members that take the time to do it. I'll point out just a few of the events that I know I went to, but the first was on Thursday night was the Nate Bargatze show. We were just a few hundred tickets away from selling out the entire Tyson Event Center, and I know that there were there's a lot of moving parts that go into a show that size. I mean, when you're talking about using multiple entrances and keeping people safe and keeping the lines flowing and keeping things going, and I know the team at OVG was working to alleviate some of those pressure points. I know that even, I forget if it's BNSF or who it is, but the train had to have a little fun and block off access to the Tyson while people were trying to get in. But hey, I guess win in Sioux City. And so I'm glad that those people were able to get in. But overall, I think the show went very, very well. And I thought the team there did a good job. And so that was the one. The second one was I know I saw the mayor down there, and I believe maybe Matthew was there earlier, was the mountain biking event that was held at Cone Park. I'm telling you, I don't know how you felt, Mayor, but that was one of those things where I was just so thankful to have been at least a part of the council while all of this was happening, and to believe that we had some part of it. I mean, I would much rather give the credit to the Chesterman family or, to Mrs. Cone that started that initial money, because the amount of times people were coming up to us at that event and just saying they didn't even know we were a part of the city, commending us on how amazing of a space we had in our facilities and the people that were there. I mean, you're talking hundreds of riders and their coaches coming to Cone Park for this mountain biking event. And we have one team that's based in Sioux City, one team. And I think she said there were 23 teams total. They were all from Omaha, from Gretna, from Lincoln, from all over that wanted to come here so that they could stay in the hotels, eat at our restaurants, and go to this multi-day mountain biking event. And they just could not stop talking about this is one of their favorite tracks on the entire circuit. And it just made me so proud. And to think that we're adding to that, I mean, with the patio addition, but then also future development in that area, I think the future is going to be amazing down in that area. The last thing that I would touch on is the Alley Art Festival. I went down there after the mountain biking event, and it's one of those things where I'll continually be frustrated, that some of those alley sections can't be more clean, or we can't keep them brighter, or, when there's not a festival going on, it's not as kept up as I would like it to be, because it's difficult when you have trash cans in the alleyways. And I know Pat and the different teams that are down there cleaning it all the time get frustrated with that as well. But the artwork that's in the alleyways is truly beautiful. And I would really encourage you, if you work downtown, to maybe just walk on your way back to your vehicle through some of those, or if you're at MLK, to go over through that side alley to be able to see some of the artwork there, because I know a lot of artists put a lot of time into that, making that beautiful, and city staff worked diligently. MERD even paid for the lighting so that you can go through during the day and really see it, and it really shines. So I just wanted to thank all the volunteers and people that went to make that possible, because it's definitely making our community a better and brighter place. So that's all I had, Mayor.
Nothing further.
See, I took his 3 minutes too.
I have one thing that I'm going to ask you, if you can't vote or anything, but if you have a problem, get hold of planning. The triangle down by my house, it was gonna be a church, is not gonna be a church. The water table there is way too high. And so we rezoned that, and my neighbors thought it was gonna be a church. Well, when we rezoned it, we opened it up for a lot of other things, and I think in fairness to the neighbors, we should ask the staff to zone that back, so that if somebody's gonna change it, they have to come and start again.
Comes to Chris.
And I talked to Chris about it earlier, but I know the neighbors did not resist that because they thought it was a church.
Because it was a church, yeah.
Correct. City council can direct staff to initiate a rezoning. I think another thing we can look at is actually rescinding the ordinance that rezoned it, since that was recent. So there's two different options. We would just need direction from council to get that on a future agenda.
Then I would put it back on to rescind. And I'm not opposed to development happening there, but I just want the neighbors to have a shot at it rather than something else go in there that they don't even know about. I don't think that's fair. So it's way far away from me. It doesn't affect me, but.
That was kind of a uniquely good fit because there'd be parking and.
And we can put that back on and publicly notice it, so there can be additional.
Okay. Thank you.
Chris, is this your bodyguard?
Yeah.
You brought
He's
him,
looking pretty
you brought him up in case there was a problem.
Well, he
No
was
problem
calling me for
up
help this
here.
afternoon. He had no idea how.
I tell you what, I didn't know if you gave him a
Thankfully, I was
look.
there to
or-
help, so.
I didn't know if you looked at him.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
That look.